all F, M, and J visa classes must make their social media profiles public. Internally, what was sent to the officers at embassies and consulates worldwide is how to do this.
Are they going to manually look at Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter? Or like, are they going to use a tool that's going to scrape through the data?
For India in particular and other countries that have a large student population, Nigeria, Ghana, this is going to create some massive backlogs.
What if students don't make their profile public? Is it probably denial at that point? What about like people who have gotten their visa approved? Do they have to now make their profile public?
I don't want to give the officer 10 accounts because that could mean that I would be in 221G processing forever.
Like if everyone is getting 221G, that just means like if 100,000 visas were getting approved, it's probably going to be like 20,000 or so. Like this is going to be massive drop. Like it's a way to stop people coming into United States. The schools that have less than 15% of international population. So for example, Chico, maybe less than like 3%. So if someone wants to go to Chico State, they would get emergency appointment. But if someone were to go to USC or ASU or Northeastern, which is more than 15%, they would not get and potentially also get denial. Thank you, Yvette, for doing this. It's crazy times. There's a lot going on. But before we get started, let's do a quick intro for people who may not have watched our...
I'm Yvette Bansal. I founded the company Udeti, and it's a visa preparation company, and I have 4 other ex-visa officers on my team. We've served all over the world. Me personally, I've served in India for almost 5 years. Prior to that, I worked for the US government in DHS, and I also did stints at the Forest Service, at the General Services Administration, and just smaller stints everywhere. And not everywhere, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
I just wanted to let people know that I've been in the US government for 11 years and across multiple agencies. And why that's important as we talk today is because I know how government works, not just at DOS, but also at DHS and a lot of other smaller agencies. I know what is possible and not possible. So we're talking about social media today, and a lot of people will ask about AI tools and scrubs and technology and the back end things. And I'll talk about why some of those things are not going to be feasible based on my experience with government. So
Nice. Love it. And I know you also help students with one-on-ones. We have our own course. So I'll put all the link in the description if people still need help to schedule one-on-one with you or one of your officers, then they get discount if they use code UDJ. So I'll put that as well. And yeah, let's start with what the heck is going on. So there is this policy now out, like, which is for the public, and people have made lots of videos and assumption of like they think this is what it means. But that's why I wanted to bring you, because you are like, you have served and you kind of understand a lot more of, there's a gray line and there's like, you know, you have to read between the lines. So what is going on? What is that external policy? Like this is what for audience, but then maybe internal, there's something else going on.
Right. So on June 18th, an external policy was posted on the Department of State website saying that all F, M, and J visa classes must make their social media profiles public. Okay. Internally, what was sent to the officers at embassies and consulates worldwide is how to do this. So how they were directed is the adjudicating officer, the person who issued your visa, should 221G your case for administrative processing, take that case back to their desk and thoroughly look through all your social media handles, and anything that is not public will essentially probably either be denied or the officer will ask you to make it public. And if you don't have any social media handles, that might be looked at as you being evasive, and they're being told that any hostility towards the US, any sense of anti-Semitism, And that is a very broad
Mm.
and general direction. And also, thoroughly being vetted is also a very broad term. What does that mean? So there's not a lot of specifics, both on the internal and the external communication from the administration.
Mm. So obviously, like audience, for them, this clear instruction is keep your social media account public. And I know there are a bunch of questions. I'm gonna like show you those questions. I asked it on Instagram, and like there were a lot of them. I think there are group, like I'll categorize in one groups, but that's for audience. What about visa officer? Like, are they gonna, how are they going to do this vetting? Like, are they going to manually look at Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or like, are they going to use a tool that's going to scrape through the data and then put it in ChatGPT and see like, is there any anti-Semitism or something like that? How are they going to figure out if this person is threat or not?
So there are no AI tools that we have been made aware of. So I have a lot of friends in the department, and so there's no internal AI scrubbing tool. Also, based on my experience with 11 years of government, the technology that at least outside of the DoD and very high tech internally is very old, very archaic. The way our systems are, the way that IT has to work because of security issues, the way that technology is even approved before it's brought into the consulate. There is no AI scrubbing tool. It didn't say in the internal messaging and the internal cable that they're going to be provided any sort of tool. It's on them to individually check each account, which is an impossible task, Yudi. That is never going to work.
And are they
So
going to check like ahead of time, or are they going to check while they are interviewing?
so they're not going to check ahead of time. That's impossible because okay, so let's use India for example. I have to adjudicate 120 applicants per day. I approve around 50 or 60, maybe less these days,
Mm.
right? And so if you were to do it ahead of time, it's impossible because it's on the adjudicating officer, which means you don't know who you were going to be assigned at the window. It's all random. If you've ever been to a visa interview,
Oh,
just
yeah,
wait in
right.
line and you go up to a random officer.
Yes.
So the adjudicating officer has to do those checks, not local staff people, not
Mm.
people in Washington, D.C. If I approve that person's visa, I have to do the check.
Mm.
It's I did a quick math on it in LinkedIn. So if you want to check out my LinkedIn, sometimes I will post about this. If I approve 50 people a day, each of them have about 3 social media profiles, and I spend 5 minutes on each of those profiles. And nowadays people have a ton more. It's about 12 hours of just barely stalking each account that they have. It's
Yeah.
absolutely impossible. What am I looking for? Completely arbitrary,
Mm.
and it's going to cause a lot of frustration for that visa officer. So that's where we're currently at. So you can see 12 hours of back office work for 3 hours of front office work, in addition to all the other work that consular officers have to do, like interview waiver cases and other specialty portfolios that we had. So
So this,
the math is not adding up, right?
that would that mean this by default like sounds like it would just mean there's going to be less and less approvals in general, and there's like, I mean, the quantity is going to just like, there's, if literally that they're going to do this, then obviously officers are not going to work 15 hours a day, so they're probably going to work like 8 hours. So that means
Yeah,
instead
what's
of
today?
50, so instead of 50, maybe now they'll do like 15 or 20 approvals. Would you agree? Or
There are so many there's so many question marks. Even at 15 approvals, they're still going to have a lot of scrolling in order to meet the internal requirement of thoroughly vetting the applicants that they approve.
Mm,
So this, if in practice were to actually be implemented, or and according to State Department is being implemented effective immediately, it would be impossible without Yes, more refusals in order for the officer to reduce their workload to something with a semblance of being reasonable, and a huge backlog of 221G cases. So I'm imagining stacks and stacks of 221G cases. I don't even know how they would be able to keep track of them. I usually had 3 or 4 221G cases a day, and now we're talking about potentially a lot more than that. Although obviously not everybody I adjudicate is a student, so
Yeah.
that will reduce it somewhat, yes.
And so 221G is what, for people who might not know?
So it's administrative processing. So any student I would adjudicate that day, I would have to take back and do a 221G
Oh, so
case.
that is
So
also your thing. Like it wouldn't be like some other back office staff would do the background information thing. You would have to spend time to do
you
that.
would have to do it. You would have to do it. And so in consulates and embassies around the world that don't have a large F, M, and J population, okay, maybe this could be feasible, maybe. But for India, where during student season, almost 40% of my applicant pool is probably an F, M, or J, and
Mm,
then a large portion is H-1Bs. That's a lot of 221Gs, almost entirely during student season, and they do prioritize students during student season. So for India in particular, and other countries that have a large student population, Nigeria, Ghana,
mm,
this is going to create some massive backlogs.
mm. And what if students don't make their profile public? Is it probably denial at that point?
Yes, I either the officer can say, I'm going to 221G you and email me when you make your profile public, or just deny you. Is my assumption on
Mm.
that. If they say I don't have a social media profile, it would be on the officer to either believe them or not.
And what about like people who have gotten their visa approved? Do they have to now make their profile public, or for them it's a free pass like?
Right now, it's effective immediately. So if you've already have your visa, you're in the clear. But we do, still say, hey, carry your I-20. I would still honestly make my social media profile public as I enter in the country. And once you're in the country, then
Yeah.
be cautious of what you're posting on social media, but you can at least put it back to private, is what I would do.
Yeah, because at CBP, they could, like, we did a
Anything could
video on
happen at
CBP.
CBP,
Yeah,
correct. And
yeah.
they could be having their own internal policies and guidance as
Mm,
well.
mm. Okay. Interesting. This is very interesting. There are a bunch of questions, so I'll kind of walk through some of the question. But before you watch that, I just want to say, if you are someone who just got your F-1 visa approved and you're planning to come in fall 2025, please let me tell you, job market is extremely brutal. And before you come ready with your resume, LinkedIn, networking, and all of it. And if you don't know how to do it, I have built Job Hunting Accelerator program. It is an ultimate job hunting course that you need to have. And you also, not just course, you also get community, you get live sessions and all the fun stuff. And you know what? We have 2000 plus students who are getting job offers, and they said, I wish I would have joined it before coming to United States. So here is your disclaimer. Don't wait after, because you will probably end up coming to our course. Maybe you'll come after coming to United States. Instead of that, join right now so you get head start in your job hunting journey. I'll see you in the community, but for now, enjoy this experience. First is, does this apply to H-1B?
According to the cable, it's F, M, and J that need to make their social media profile public. But in general, prior to this, there was a lot of talk about social media vetting for all visa classes. So I would be cautious as an H-1B in general about what you post and what you have on your social media,
Yeah.
and still anticipate social media questions, and maybe even just set them to public before your interview if you feel comfortable with that, just because this is such an uncertain time.
And that reminds me, should they turn on the social media to public like on the day of interview, like few days before, since you said the officers are not going to review it ahead of time, so it's
Mhm.
almost like just like one day before is should be fine, because l- what I'm imagining is that this person is in the front of the officer and he's like, okay, DS-160, they're going to go through their Instagram profile, check something. I don't know what they're going to look for, but they're going to look for that, or their Facebook profile or Twitter or whatever. Is so was that fair to just have it on the day off, or would you say keep it public until you finish your interview?
There's no way they can check it prior to that. As of right now, there's no way, there's no guidance. So the guidance is the adjudicating officer. So going the day of and having it public and then thereafter. So if
Mm.
you get 221G, don't shut it off, obviously, the
Oh,
next
right.
day.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, because the officers don't know who is going to be, so they're not going to review DS-160 ahead of time.
That's correct. Officers don't do that.
Mm, okay. What about my friend is going for visa renewal next year? Will this affect her as well?
We don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully this policy is short-lived. So that's not something to be worried about right now. We have enough fires to put out right now. We don't need to worry about next year.
Yes. Very common question like this is like a lot of people ask this. If we share only one social media and not share my Instagram, or if I only share one of my Instagram account and not share the other three, which are like private accounts, how do they know that I have these accounts? And like, if I keep them private, like, what's your take on that?
It's going to be really difficult to implement this policy in general.
Mm,
I would say keep everything public and don't risk it. If they could Google you, unless you can delete it and you know it's gone off of the face of the earth and they cannot find it, then that's fine. If it was me and I knew I could, delete some inactive accounts and I'm not trying to hide something, I would keep my most active profiles because I would I would play it as a game a little bit. And this is me, Yudi. I don't want to give the officer 10 accounts because that could mean that I would be in 221G processing forever. It's
mm,
not necessarily that I have anything to hide. And I know that the guidance from everyone is like list absolutely everything. And that is good guidance. It's not bad guidance. But if you completely delete an account, I don't know how they would be able to find that account. You're not trying to hide anything, but you're just trying to give them the accounts that are active and not these random, because social media means a lot of things. I've opened a lot of different accounts. I think I have like 3 Pinterests. Am I going to list
all the
three
filters.
Pinterests?
Yeah.
Are they going to find my MySpace? Does that exist anymore? You understand my point.
Yeah.
So be smart about it. You're not trying to hide anything, but be smart about it. Think about it.
But if it is in this particular question, if it is LinkedIn, which is social media, and not Instagram, but they do use Instagram as their main social media platform, they shouldn't try to keep that information.
No, I would not do that. No, absolutely not. I would just caution you from doing the nitty gritty small social media accounts that maybe you do not use, but especially the main ones, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, those main ones. If you have
Twitter,
them,
Twitter is
just
like,
Twitter, yes,
yeah.
absolutely Twitter, just list them.
Yeah. Okay. What about people who got approved? I think we covered that. So they are fine until you like enter United States. At that time, you may be asked to like show your social media.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I've mentioned my main Instagram, but not portfolio work Instagram account. Is it okay? My LinkedIn is handled. So I think similar kind of question.
Right. And we can only guess, right? Because the guidance is so fuzzy.
Yeah. When should we make account public? At the day of interview, I think we covered this as well, so we are good. Can they get into the history of post and stories on the account after it's made public?
Again, based on being in government, they don't have anything in the consular or embassy section that is super snazzy and will be able to get them something that a normal person could not get.
Mm,
So, especially with that internal policy, research thoroughly. So, if a normal person can get it, then they can. But if a normal person cannot get it, there is no mention of additional tools that can
mm.
excavate that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that would mean they would not be able to see DMs as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And unless we get otherwise, but yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I'm assuming they will. So there was one question about what if I'm following a creator who talks about anti-US government or said something. They will be able to see the list of followers. I mean, the list of people you follow. So that
Yes.
could be, but I don't think they have been given like, hey, if anybody follows this list of people, reject them. I don't know if that is the case or not, but could it be?
I doubt they are given that list, but maybe if there's some creators or certain things that are very anti-government, it could be that some internal list
Hmm.
of this is a red flag, perhaps that could be there. But again, if a normal person can find it, they can find it. If you feel like it's questionable, don't follow that person.
Yeah. Does this impact first-time applicants or OPT renewals or other renewals too?
Yes, it should. This does not specify just new applicants. It's anybody who has a visa interview. And I would imagine it didn't specify interview waiver, but I would imagine the same thing. If an officer is reviewing a social, the DS 160 for an interview waiver case, the social media handles are on that DS 160. They should be based on internal policy, thoroughly reviewing that as well. So,
Hmm. Does not apply to B1, B2, correct?
not according to the cable
Yeah.
and the announcement.
Should we delete our 2-year-old comment, which is on a meme and not related to US or conflicts?
So, that is actually a good question because it's not just hostile attitudes towards the US, it could be anything that's deemed as a red flag. So if the officer sees something that's violent, they could potentially deny you because they don't like it. Again, the visa adjudication is based on the consular officer. They should be applying policy
Yeah,
of
but
that.
I think if you delete it, there's no way for them. I mean, again, like we said, like there's at least there's no
Right.
tool
If
which
you
is
do
gonna.
right, there's
Yeah,
no if you delete it, it's gone. But
yeah,
I'm specifying that if you
mm,
have for example, a very violent post about
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
could haunt you.
Yes, yes. Content creator with multiple accounts have to mention all of them in DS160, including my personal account.
Technically, yes, but we covered that.
Yeah.
Being
Um,
smart about that.
I already filled my DS160, but I missed Twitter handle. Should I fill a new one? Oh yeah, there was a lot of repeated question about this. Like I already did this, but I missed it. What do I do now?
If you can, if it's a easy process for you at this point, you haven't gone into for your biometrics, and it's a major account, then it might be wise to modify it.
Hmm. And they could like I'm also imagining the officers like, hey, do you have a Twitter account this for this person, and he says yes, and then he is not listed. They could be very well given 221G that since you don't and I don't have way to check it, I'm gonna wait until you put that. Is that possible?
Technically, they're supposed to 221G and check those accounts once they go back to their seat because in the morning they only have 1 to 2 minutes to adjudicate everyone. So according to the policy, they're supposed to be 221G FM and J's and taking that back. So if they're
Everybody.
interviewing every single F, M, and J, they are supposed to be doing a thorough social media check back at their desk.
And wait, so is this happening already?
That is a good question. We have not received reports. My clients and the message boards that I'm on with students, I've asked, has anybody been 221G'd? I've had people in Nigeria say that they've been 221G'd. I've had them say that they've been asked if they've ever been to Gaza. But as of right now, I'm still collecting data on who is being 221G'd, and maybe we can do another video next week because this is so new that it could be that Mission India, probably one of the biggest missions that are being impacted right now, Mission India, Mission China, is currently rolling out how the officers are possibly going to be doing this. So if it's not being implemented right now, we should be hearing of massive 221Gs. If this is actually happening, it could be that the mission goes back and says this is not possible. We're going to have to wait and see how
Mm.
this policy plays out.
I mean, that would just mean like if everyone is getting 221G, that just means like if 100,000 visas were getting approved, it's probably going to be like 20,000 or so. Like this is going to be massive drop. Like it's a way to stop people coming into United States. That's what I feel like.
Yes, this is a way that the administration could slow things down if that's what they wanted, and that's what it seems the intent is, because that's exactly what's going to happen. They're not rolling out a major AI tool to do scrubs. They're giving arbitrary policy. They're putting it on the adjudicating officer, and it's
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
it's a very high bar to
Yes.
ask for this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just couple last question. My account has been deactivated for last 2 years. Should I reactivate it? I don't see a need, but again, I don't know.
You're going to have to be smart. If you have no other social media accounts at all, and you have nothing to hide on your Facebook account, it's your only account, it might be smart just to activate it so that you're not faced with this I don't have any social media
Mm,
question.
mm,
So be smart.
yeah. Is it necessary to have Instagram account public? What about the privacy breach, misuse of our photo?
Yeah, there's a lot of privacy concerns. It's not just this, it's what if you have a specific sexual orientation in a country where that's not legal or could put you in danger. What then? There's a lot of those questions right
Mm,
now. What if you have somebody who means you harm and you know that,
mm,
and you've been trying to be evasive and now that you can't be? It's certainly a policy that puts you at risk, and you're
yeah,
going to have to weigh your security concerns with your need and desire to get a visa. And that's the position that you're being put in right now, which is completely unfair.
yeah, yeah. I think those were like again a lot of the repeated questions. Should we do this? That we kind of covered it. But any final advice to students who are planning their upcoming visa interview, etc.?
Right. Plan early. If if you're going in this summer, it's very chaotic, but maybe for the fall or next year, plan as early as possible, fill out your DS 160 as early as possible. Hang in there. This is a impossible ask, so things are going to be moving quickly in terms of how it's actually being implemented, and stay positive. There's a lot of people who still want to see international students in the United States, me being one of them. So don't let one administration or policy agendas deter you from pursuing your dreams. There's a couple other things to cover. There's also a directive regarding the approval of emergency appointments.
Mm,
So J1 physicians and those seeking an F-1 visa to schools that have less than a 15% international student population will be granted emergency appointments on priority. And those who fall outside of that in the FM and J categories will not be approved on a priority basis. So just be weary of that if you're going to ASU, University of Illinois
mm,
Champaign, Northeastern, NYU, Harvard, of course, who has almost a 30% international student population. If
mm,
you're applying for an emergency appointment for one of those schools, then that could also, if you're planning on going to a school next year, if you the schools that you're applying to, if one of them has a lesser international student population, this is becoming a thing. And it's really sad, Yudi, because
Yeah.
I'm really wondering why the current administration is making that decision for these top schools that
Mm.
have such a diverse and rich student world, international student population. Why they're making that decision, what's driving that, and yeah, it's
So it's interesting. You're
disappointing.
saying the schools that have less than 15% of international population. So, for example, Chico, maybe less than like 3%. So, if someone wants to go to Chico State, they would get emergency appointment. But if someone were to go to USC or ASU or Northeastern, which is more than 15%, they would not get and potentially also get denial.
I don't know about the denial part. I mean, just sticking to the policy, it says that Chico State student would be given priority for an emergency appointment over someone going to,
Okay.
say,
Gotcha.
Northeastern or ASU. So that's the clarity that is provided. But there's so many emergency appointments that by default, anyone going to a school that has more than 15%, I would imagine, will be refused that emergency appointment slot.
Mm, yeah. Wow. You
Tough.
said there were other things. Is there anything else left, or are we good?
Though that those are the major things.
Okay, cool. Crazy times. Thank you, Yvette. And I know we will jump on anytime there's new thing comes up. So we'll keep everyone updated. And again, I'll leave the link in the description for anyone who wants one-on-one counseling. This is the time where you should be using it because you are unsure. And so ideally get in touch with Yvette or her team. So again, thank you, Yvette. You know how we end the video. So until our next one.
Stay smiling and keep hustling, right? Is that right, Edie?
Just keep smiling, keep hustling. But I think you got it. Yes.